So, all right, we're settling down. Already on stage, happy to have here Natalie Cattanach, VP Applied AI Experience, Manish Singh, VP of Professional Services and Managed Operations, both from Bell Canada. We're talking redesign experiences, workflows, and ways of working with the customer in mind. Give them a round of applause.
Thank you, guys. Good morning. So, as mentioned, I'm the Vice President for Professional Service and Managed Operations for what's called Bell Business Market. So we serve the enterprise and the government industry. And the way we look at the market based on our customers' journeys is that it is twofold. One is about getting the CX experience right. So that's the orchestration part from a customer experience perspective. But equally important and keeping in tandem is the back end with the workflow automation and the process supporting that CX experience. And then when you kind of if you double click on that, the next level you see is what you require are essentially 5 pillars that need to be in place. And your journey can start in any of those, but at the end of it, when you really realize the full benefits and it is an enduring benefit, all of them work in tandem. So it's a complex program, it's a complex effort, and automation really makes things happen. And so I have my colleague, Natalie, who has actually led this kind of transformation for us within Bell, and she will double-click on how things happen at Bell, what she has gone through, and the key aspects to take care of. Natalie, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Manish. It's great to be here with you today and all of the participants at the summit. I'm excited to share a bit about Bell's own transformation journey. And I think so often success begins with a clearly defined objective. And for us, our goal is to make it easy for customers to do business with Bell, which sounds relatively simple, but the reality is our business has significant complexity, and that complexity can drive customer friction. And I'm sure that's something that resonates with many of you in this room. For context, Bell is a national company. We have many products and services that we offer across Canada, across multiple brands. We run a very large global contact center operation with literally thousands of agents here in Canada and around the world. And our organization has evolved through a series of acquisitions. And with that comes back-end complexity and, unfortunately, many legacy systems. And so, those create real challenges that impact the customer experience. And at Bell, we're using technology and specifically AI solutions to overcome those challenges and deliver on our customer-first vision, enabling service teams that are armed with AI superpowers, enabling hyper-personalized customer experiences across our channels that add real value for customers in a meaningful way, and delivering that across any channel. So that is our vision. Today I'll talk a bit about the journey we've been on to leverage AI to solve those challenges that I teed up, and specifically challenges that historically have been cost prohibitive. And so we're really excited about the new opportunity that these AI systems and platforms represent. So I'll start by providing some context on the digital transformation journey that we have been on. It started several years ago when we set out to build and deliver best-in-class digital experiences. And we did that through the development in-house of our MyBell mobile app. And that was a really important stepping stone on our journey because it enabled a simplified experience for basic self-serve needs that was available 24/7. And we've been recognized for our intuitive design. The app has won several awards, including a prestigious Webby. And so this was a critical milestone for us on our journey. But it doesn't end there. From there, we moved into executing or leveraging AI-enabled programs. Think of this as AI and ML overlays on our existing tools and systems to improve our execution and to scale results. And this has been a really exciting journey. I'll highlight a couple use cases. One that stands out is our AI customer simulator. We developed it in-house, and essentially it created a training environment that enables agents to learn and grow and develop and practice with very practical real-world scenarios that they would encounter with our customers. And what that does is it helps to build their confidence and develop their proficiency. We use that for new hires that join us as their first job with Bell, but we also use that as an important part of our continuous learning journey. And this has been monumental in terms of reducing some of the training time, and we find it's actually more effective than conventional training in terms of driving agent proficiency, time to proficiency. So that's a big one for us. We've leveraged a whole host of speech programs, and the results are real. So if I look back to 2019, Bell was the leader in industry complaints as regulated by a third-party body. You don't want to be number one in that contest. And through a lot of hard work, as well as these key AI-enabled programs, we've been able to significantly reduce our complaints per 10,000. And now we are the lowest of the big three in Canada, and our trend continues to decline. So lots more work to do in terms of eliminating those complaints and reducing them materially, but we're on the right trajectory, and these programs are working to deliver real results. And then from there, we have now migrated to building AI-native platforms and solutions in our operations. This brings AI to the core of our processes and our systems that power our end-to-end ecosystem. And we're really excited about how this unlocks both immediate benefits, but also enables progress towards that end vision that I spoke to off the top. So how are we doing it? If I think about our foundational architecture, and it will look different for every organization, but there are common elements to these transformation journeys. So I'll talk a bit about what Manish teed up in terms of real-time customer experience orchestration, specifically our virtual assistants and our knowledge management platform. And then I'll also speak a bit to workflow automation, case management, service orchestration, as well as AI quality. So for us, a key pillar, arguably a hallmark of our customer experience strategy, is developing best-in-class virtual agent experiences, or what we call our virtual assistant. And this is an important pillar for us because it's not just about providing self-serve support. It's also about making sure that when the agent needs live human support, we've got the right information to get them to the right place. So for us, we're designing with hyperscalers to deliver world-leading experiences, to deliver a great conversational self-serve experience. It's about understanding the customer's intent, being able to disambiguate if it's not clear. It's about using that information to answer simple questions or guide to the relevant self-serve capabilities. And when a human agent needs to be in the loop or needs to provide support to that customer, the key element here is making sure that we understand the customer's need so they don't need to repeat themselves, and so that we get them to the right agent and mitigate some of that bouncing that is incredibly frustrating for customers. And I'm sure you've all experienced that with various service providers. So that is a key pillar of our strategy. We are fully deployed in chat. We are launching it across our brands for the voice experience, and we're already seeing incredible results. So these systems are outperforming legacy chatbots, legacy IVRs materially. And the best part is this is truly just the foundation. So you start with your baseline, and then you continue to optimize and improve the customer experience to scale results. So we're really excited about our virtual assistant strategy, and it goes beyond just customers. We're also equipping our agents with virtual assistants to better support customers so they can focus on what the customer needs on the call and spend less time looking through their tools and their systems to get information or to take action to support the customer. Also, incredibly important when we think about orchestrating this system is the information that fuels it. And so an early element that we focused on at Bell was developing a centralized knowledge management platform. That platform powers both our systems and our people to ensure that we're leveraging accurate and consistent information across the end-to-end customer journey. If I get into the workflow side of the house, so this is specifically not what's happening necessarily real time with the agent, but all of the work, the customer, but all of the work that's happening behind the scenes to orchestrate ongoing workflows, offline workflows. We have been laser focused on delivering what we call our customer promise engine. And this is, a case management platform on steroids, which is important to address customers' issues in a timely manner, keep customers informed of what's happening with their case, and also being able to integrate AI into the workflows that support the execution related to cases, and also enabling future A-to-A capabilities. And then last but not least, AI quality has been an absolute game changer in our ecosystem. We're using AI to evaluate customer and agent interactions at scale, and we can use that to identify new friction drivers as they emerge in our ecosystem. We can use that to provide personalized feedback or coaching to agents, as well as to equip team leads with that information to support their live coaching interactions. So very exciting space that we are operating in. And what is so critical about this foundational architecture is it enables our immediate goals. It delivers immediate ROI, but it also sets the foundation for an autonomous agent-to-agent ecosystem where those transactions are happening without direct human intervention, which is certainly the direction the industry at large is headed. But technology on its own will not deliver the will not maximize your benefits. And so a key element that we've been thinking about internally as part of our transformation journey is how do we maximize, or how do we support people and processes and leverage those to maximize the technology investments that we're making across our ecosystem. And so there's a few items that I think are worth consideration while you're thinking about your own digital transformation journeys. The first is intelligent process design. AI presents incredible opportunities to truly reimagine the customer experience. And so for us, we've taken an approach around this is not the time to lift and shift. This is an opportunity to build for AI native platforms and do better by our customers. So that's, I think, a critical piece to building that AI culture. I would also say we are operating in a brand new world. The AI discourse is evolving at a rapid pace. Every day there's a new breakthrough or a new development. And what that means is enterprise is delivering with products that are maybe less mature, or they don't have the proven playbook that they might have had in the past. We're actually operating at the bleeding edge in some cases. And that means we're not going to get it right every time. So a key element that we continue to work through is how do we drive that culture and that model of rapid experimentation? How do you fail fast? How do you execute tests and do your proof of concepts and learn and check and adjust in a way that drives progress, because perfection is not likely on the first try. And last but not least on this slide, I think it's important to think about AI adoption and what it takes to effectively drive change management across your operations. I think it's no surprise to anyone in this room that AI can be a polarizing topic. And in fact, over March break, I had a really lively debate with my 18-year-old cousin about the merits of AI in the education system. And the Gen Z was starkly opposed, which was a surprise to me. But all that to say is many people have questions or even concerns when AI is introduced to their jobs. And for us, we've taken a very outcome-focused approach. How does AI directly improve our team members' ability to be productive and to be effective? And so that might be the agent that actually prefers an AI-driven quality metric because they feel like it's more fair and objective than a manual call listening model. And it gives them very specific feedback for them to improve the support that they're giving to our customers and drive better outcomes from a compensation perspective. It might be the analyst who spends a lot of time organizing data and can now instead allocate that time to interpreting the data and deriving more strategic outputs or insights. So thinking about what are those outcomes and how do you use those to energize teams around AI has been very helpful in overcoming some of those very, very appropriate concerns or reservations. And most excitingly, I'm happy to share that we are delivering real outcomes, which at the end of the day, this is critical. This is not AI for the sake of AI. This is about delivering on that vision that we set up off the top. We're seeing more engaged employees, rallying around new tools that drive their productivity and give them more time to focus on our customers. We see improved customer satisfaction, NPS is improving, as well as customers answering that their experience has been easy. And over time, that'll drive a willingness to invest with the brand. And last but not least, AI has been significant in terms of improving customer experience and driving productivity, and with that, helps us to manage our operating costs. So I think a pretty solid business case in terms of what the art of the possible is as you start to integrate AI across your operations at scale. And with that, I will ask Manish to come back.
Thank you, Natalie. So you got a snippet or a preview of what we are doing internally, but we are doing that same with our customers, whether it's in federal or whether you'd have seen some of our announcements in the federal government of recent with big banks and retail agencies. And we are not going to be able to do it on our own. We know that. So we have a set of partners, and some of them are listed here, Genesys, NICE, Zoom, and the hyperscalers who are working very closely with us. We build competency around their technology and make it easier for our customers to navigate those choices. So that's one set of work that we do. The second part is our sister company, Ateco, kind of takes it to the next level, to the discussion that Natalie was having about back-end knowledge management, integration of internal systems. That's what Ateco focuses on. And then, of course, in today's world, security is paramount, and Bell Cyber is an entity of ours, which kind of neatly ties all the pieces together. So that's a quick view on what we as Bell do for external customers, in addition to the insightful conversation that Natalie had with us. So with that, we come to a formal end of our presentation, but we have teed up a few questions that we commonly see, and we'll just put it up, and then, of course, you guys are free to ask us more questions. So one of the questions, and Natalie can get us going, and I'll add to it, is what are the best practices? And she referred to some, but please add to it. Yeah.
I think this ties back to the presentation, but I would underscore that to maximize your CX transformation, it's critical to start with the customer in mind and not technology solutions. So get clear on what is that core objective for the customers that you're working to deliver, and then work backwards from that to determine what are the pieces of the puzzle that are required in order to architect a solution or an ecosystem that will deliver or maximize your ability to deliver on those customer-centric outcomes. I would say that's critical number one. I said it earlier, but AI for the sake of AI is not the best business case. Focus with those customer and then subsequently business outcomes in mind.
And of course, AI is the topic of the era, but cloud used to be, and we need to be sure, in my view, what we've seen is the customers who have a cloud mindset do very well, because a lot of the features that vendors are adding are part of your package. So you've got to be on top of the subscription you have signed up to, what is happening. And so you have a team which is vigilant, constantly learning and improving. So I call it the cloud mindset, but it has certain double clicks on it. One being, you've got to watch out, you've got to think small and grow it. But also when it comes to customization, while your user base may not really like standardized out-of-the-box things, but the underlying capabilities change so frequently that it's important to keep as much as possible the look and feel canned so that you can avail of the latest. And be very careful on choosing which ones do you customize heavily, because there's a lot of underlying change, a lot of delays, a lot of costs involved in it. That's what we've seen when we see cost overruns in our customer programs. So just wanted to add that in addition to the AI aspect.
Yeah. And just to add to that, I think the technology is evolving so quickly that what we dreamed up 2 or 3 years ago when we set out to build our virtual assistant program is light years different from what we're actually building or what capabilities exist today. So there is a balance of figuring out how do you deliver on those outcomes based on what's available now, and also creating some optionality or flexibility in your operating model so that you can adapt to optimize your outcomes as the technology is changing.
So that was another question that comes up is, tell us a few compelling use cases. She, of course, brought up a few, but why don't you add one more?
So I mentioned some more general service inquiries, but I think another interesting or compelling use case is really around how we are using AI from a install and repair perspective. And that's a really exciting space, which when you think about organizations that have large fleets or need to go into the homes, et cetera, in order to support customers, it is a material cost and friction driver. And so for us, as our industry has moved towards self-installation as being a preferred option for our customers, we've been building the appropriate self-serve processes and supports around those processes. So today we can do remote diagnostics and remote checks for customers that have executed a self-install in order to make sure not only is the service has been installed correctly, but also is it maximized for the outcomes that it needs to drive and mitigate future potentially downstream impacts. And then also to support that, we've created a digital guided support flow, which provides step-by-step instructions that are interactive to drive the installation process and also address common concerns or troubleshooting questions that arise. So this is just another example of where integrating digital capabilities powered by AI has driven material improvements to the customer experience, because otherwise it can be a more challenging process.
And of course, I talked about the end-to-end being there in order to get the most of benefits, but some of the ones can be very small. We built a bot with quick return for a bank where it kind of helped the customers navigate much more quickly to the right agent, saving time on the agent, but also improving the experience of the customer. Instead of pressing many buttons, they were able to, with natural language, be able to get to the right agent much faster. And typically you've seen, customers will dial and then they kind of dial zero. They just don't wait sometimes. They are just run out of patience. So it saved a lot of headaches. A very practical, quick ROI use case that I like to highlight among the bigger ones. So that's what I would like to highlight here.
That's good.
And then the last one, I'm not sure if you want to answer this, but what are the perspectives on tech vendors? But you want to make a comment, and then I'll...
Sounds good. I'll give you my general opinion,
Yes.
and then you can probably provide more contextual insight. But my take on it is there's no right way to do AI. And the optimal solution for one company will look different from another organization. So say a startup or like a relatively immature company that started in the AI native era, they will likely make different technology decisions than maybe a large enterprise that has a lot of legacy back-end infrastructure that they need to navigate, or even existing commitments with other vendors. So my perspective is, I think the cooperation across technology vendors is helpful to drive the right outcomes or help their customers build the right solutions. And frankly, I think it's good business sense because it gives them an opportunity to maximize their market share.
And again, she's kind of kept it vendor neutral, but I'll give you a couple of examples that I really like, where the front end and the back end come together. And an example is recently when Genesis did the front end and the UX experience pretty well, but on the back end, as she mentioned, case management, etc., needs to be handled. And ServiceNow, we kind of come out of the box. It's a pretty cool one that we see, drastically drops things. So we keep on top of that, and we try to bring it up with our customers early, and some of them who embrace it definitely benefit a lot. So with that, the formal part is over. We are happy to take any questions from the audience. Thank you, Natalie.
Oh, great. I get to be first. Okay. Melissa here. You talked about how this is the bleeding edge, and I believe it really is. Some of this, we have a room full of people, worried about the customer experience and how to make things right. And obviously, AI is technology driven. So can you talk about a time where there was a failure? I'm over here.
Okay, sorry, I'm like,
pardon me.
it's so much easier when I can see you.
Could you give us an example of maybe what one of these early failures was and what your lessons learned were, especially around employee engagement of your employees bringing this technology in?
I don't know if I would call it a failure, but maybe to hone in on specifically on employee engagement, I think when we built our AI quality evaluation, which uses AI and LLM to evaluate interactions at scale, there were a couple different perspectives. One was we didn't think the technology was there and we would be able to do that, particularly to evaluate soft skills. And the second piece is I think there was some reservation in terms of readiness or openness for agents and for even like team leaders to embrace that technology. What we found was, in fact, the exact opposite. So we were very surprised by the level of engagement. Sure, there might be pockets of resistance, and I do think what we learned through this process is that change management matters. And we might have had certain contact centers that were really, really receptive to the technology because for them, they felt like it was a step towards delivering better customer service, achieving their compensation targets, et cetera. And there might have been other pockets of the organization where they felt, more threatened by the introduction of AI technologies. And I think what it comes down to is how do you optimize the change management for the specific needs of your organization? How do you tailor your messaging? And how do you soft launch some of these things to help really make it practical, make it tangible? Because as you get exposed to the technologies, oftentimes that really helps to alleviate some of the concerns when you see how useful or functional the actual outputs are. So I don't know if that answers your question in terms of specific failures as it pertains to employees, but I would say that's a key learning that I've taken away from our experiences.
Thank you. Hi. So I guess my question is more about the cybersecurity side of it. There's been a lot of conversation regarding, the optimization. How can we use AI to improve client experience? But I think a significant part of client experience is ensuring that the client's data and information is protected. When we use AI to create simulation models in terms of how do we train our agents, one of the big concerns at this point is then how do we ensure that an actual client who is using your services and using many of your touch points that have been impacted by AI, how do we ensure that that information is secure? That's my major question. It's just kind of how do we alleviate concerns about privacy breaches as well? Yeah,
absolutely. I think first off, I would say everything that we have executed internally is done in lockstep with our partners in corporate security. And I think that's really important to reinforce or underscore the necessity for a strong and collaborative dynamic. And there's natural push and pull that comes from that relationship, but it's so critical because these are newer technologies, and we need to make sure that we're operating with the proper guardrails, and we have our customers' privacy as a top priority in supporting all of their service needs. So that's critical path number one, is make sure you're connected to the right people. And also think about how the technologies and how the new processes and experiences you're designing can leverage the required security controls, but maybe do it in a more natural or seamless way. And so one of the conversations I'm having internally with the team is, what does our authentication process look like? And why did we build it this way? And where are there opportunities? Because we have new anti-spoofing technologies, as an example, or we can do different types of back-end system checks that weren't previously available to help overcome some of those security concerns. So I think it is priority number one. It does represent real risk. Make sure you're working with the right cross-functional teams that understand how the technology operates. And don't be afraid to explore kind of the new capabilities that are ever evolving across our industry and all of the others. If there's anything to add?
Yeah, no, and of course, we do look at it, as I said, in 3 pillars, and security is a key aspect of it, right from preempting what can happen to actually responding fast. We have a whole suite with our Bell Cyber folks. They actually look at every layer. So that's an additional thing that we offer from a customer perspective. So we do that. We are out of time, so thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Great virtually connecting here. So thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Oh.